This evening I'm making gingerbread cookies. I need to first boil my molasses and my brown sugar. This is a recipe that has been handed down through generations from my great-great-great-great-grandmother who lived in Pennsylvania. And this has been passed down. You have to first boil your molasses and your brown sugar. And once you have that boiled, then you'll be adding all of your spices. Now, gingerbread was a dessert of kings, and they believed that the ginger was a healing agent for the stomach and very, very healthy for it. And through the ages, it became a holiday tradition just to have the gingerbread men both hanging on the tree and there for the children to eat. And I'm going to check my fire here just for a second because we want to make sure that we keep the fire stoked really, really well so that our oven will get hot enough to bake our cookies. And we'll just let that come to a boil on the stove. Once that comes to a boil, I'll be adding my butter. And we'll melt the butter in there, and then we will add eggs. So I'm going to go ahead and beat my eggs up because we want our eggs well beaten. So we'll have that done. And I've already put together my baking powder, my ginger, my nutmeg, my baking soda, and it's all ready to go in. And we'll be adding it to 4½ cups of flour. And then when we get all that mixed up, we'll be ready to roll out our dough. So this is starting to boil. So we'll give it a few more minutes. Now I will tell you that this is a gingerbread recipe that has to be chilled overnight. So I have already made up one batter. And so we're going to go ahead and roll it out and get some of it in the oven, because even when we mix our new batter, we still have to let it set overnight. So I've got my cookie pan, I've got my gingerbread cutter, and I've got my dough all ready to go. So we're going to sprinkle a little bit of flour here on the table so that it doesn't stick. We don't want a lot of flour, just enough to keep it from sticking. Gingerbread has a really good taste, and it will make your house smell so great for the holidays. So you can see this is just a little bit sticky, but it's also very yummy just to eat raw. So I'm just going to press it out slightly, and then need a little bit of flour on my rolling pin so it doesn't stick to the rolling pin. We're going to roll it to about 1/4 inch. You may need to put a little bit of flour on the top of it there so it doesn't stick. So we don't want them super thin unless you like a crunchy cookie. If you like a crunchy cookie, then roll them a little thinner. I'm going to flip it over here, dust some of that flour off, roll it just a little bit thinner, and then we're going to cut it. So cut it just like that. Give it a little wiggle. That way it comes out nicely. Place it on the tray. And it takes about 8 to 10 minutes for the gingerbread to cook. And put him right there. And you'll want to add, if you're going to add raisins for eyes and buttons, you can do Red Hots. You can go down to Mr. Carlin's store in the city of Findlay ahead of time and get you some nice little red candies, because the kids also like to use the gingerbread men to decorate the Christmas tree with. So if we get the tree brought in tonight and everything, then we'll have a few extra cookies for them, not only to eat, but also to put on their tree. So we'll cut a few more, just maybe one more to fit on this tray, and put that right there. Then we're going to take our raisins, and put a little mouth on there, put a little eye, and hopefully your gingerbread man won't get up and run off your tray when you take him out of the oven. That's one of the stories the kids like to tell. So decorating just like that. Stay right there, buddy. See, he's already trying to escape from me. This just adds a little bit of fun to it and a little bit more flavor. And that one stuck to my finger. Now I'm going to I got some Red Hots, and so we're going to put these red buttons on some of them. There we go. And then we'll still give them their eyes. And these cookies will last in your cold cellar up to 2 to 3 weeks. And just sitting around the house, if your children don't eat them all, they'll also last for months, actually. If you could actually cover them up in one of your crocks, they last a very, very long time. So they're all ready to go, and I'm going to pop them in the oven. It'll be about 10 minutes, and they will be ready to eat. So let's get my hot pad here. All right, and in the oven they go. And that was just the right amount of time for my molasses to boil. Look at this boiling on the stove. This is a full rolling boil. And that's what we want. That dissolves the sugar and makes the molasses and brown sugar blend together. So that's ready to go. And I need probably another hot pad to set under here. But we're going to add our butter to this. And because we want our butter to melt, I'm going to put that in there. And I'm going to stir this around here so the butter's all melted. And that'll help it cool a little bit also. We don't want to add our eggs until our molasses and brown sugar and butter are well blended, because also the heat of the molasses and brown sugar mixture would cook the egg, and then you'd have fried egg versus gingerbread cookies. So our butter's almost melted in there. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and add our spices and our baking soda and our baking powder. Put those in there. Oh, that really smells good. I can smell the nutmeg and the cinnamon. Oh, really good. Stir that really, really well there. Now, we have 4½ cups of flour here, and I'm going to start to add that a little bit at a time. That will also help with the cooling process before I add the eggs. So let's take this little cup right here, add just a smidgen of the flour, stir that around. It's looking really, really good. And you can see how ginger looking and dark brown the color is, how rich it is. And it doesn't matter whether you use light brown sugar or dark brown sugar. You will have a darker cookie using dark brown sugar versus light brown sugar. So let's go ahead and put our eggs in. I think that's cool enough. We can mix our eggs into there. We'll whip it really, really, really fast. That's all stirred up really well. And now we'll put in, I'm just going to pour it into our bowl, the rest of our mix here. Get it out of the hot pan that way. And I'm sure your children, the minute they get in the house, they're going to want to start sampling the gingerbread. Just the smell will make them hungry. So let's set this back over here, and then we can finish mixing this. And this will just chill overnight. First thing in the morning, you'll be ready to bake another batch of gingerbread cookies. And if you don't choose to bake your dough right away. It will stay in the refrigerator for several days and be just fine. Putting in this bowl allows it to be a little bit cooler. And it will look a little bit thin, but setting overnight will allow that to thicken up a little bit also and allow the flavor of the cinnamon and the ginger to become a little bit stronger and more flavorful, I guess is a good word. Let's put this up there. Getting a little bit sloppy here. I'll be having to clean up that mess. So that's ready to set aside and chill. And we'll go ahead and we'll finish rolling out the rest of our gingerbread cookies. And if the kids come through the door pretty soon, they'll be ready to sample this tasty gingerbread cookie. Maybe I should sample it. Now that's good gingerbread.